Calgary, a live look over the city where today Conservatives from across the country will begin gathering for a convention. The Conservative Convention topping the agenda, a mandatory leadership review for Pierre Poilievre. Here to discuss is CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader Tom Mulcair. Good morning, Tom. Good to see you.
Good to be with you, Marcia.
So what should we be watching for Friday night as Pierre Poilievre faces this critical test?
Well, people will be watching the number. That is important, but it doesn't say the whole story. So the number. I'm personally predicting that Pierre Poilievre will probably go above 80%. Most of the Conservatives I've been speaking to will say mid to high 70s. So I think we're all within a certain range of saying the same thing. But what's more important, I think, long term is not what his more active party members say to him on any given weekend. Excuse me, it's what Canadian voters are saying right now that they want. And they're telling pollsters across the spectrum, no matter where you are in Canada, that there is a factor about Pierre Poilievre that makes it very unlikely that he will ever become prime minister. That is worrying people who have been involved in the party founded by Stephen Harper since the beginning. They are proud warriors. They want to win an election. They know that they had a 28% lead over the Conservatives until Mark Carney showed up. Mr. Poilievre was never able to adapt his campaign to that, never able to acknowledge the fact that the Liberals had the chance to pull ahead. He just stuck to his game plan doggedly, and he got thumped by the Liberals under Carney against all expectations. There's a third element, because you and I have just talked about the party, and we've talked a little bit about the public, the voting public, but that third element is the caucus, Marcia. The caucus, of course, was treated very badly by Poilievre during those halcyon days when he saw himself just heading into the prime ministerial suite with his 28% lead in the polls. People have long memories. Those are proud warriors as well. They've won in every single one of their ridings. Mr. Poilievre was defeated in his, and he had to have somebody step down so he could get elected in Alberta. All that is still ruminating. Yes, Mr. Poilievre will get through the weekend just fine. Yes, he'll be back in the House of Commons. But once he gets back in the House of Commons, that's when the tough part starts. There is a lot of discussion going on in the higher levels of the Conservative Party right now as to whether or not Pierre Poilievre can ever break through with the voting public, whether or not the Conservatives, therefore, will ever win and form a government. That's their key concern, not this weekend's vote. Caucus will have an important role on that, and a lot of them are very disgruntled and remain so. And I think that this is the tough part for Pierre Poilievre once he comes back.
Tom, have you ever known a leader to change? I mean, Pierre Poilievre is Pierre Poilievre, and as you point out, and as the polls show, Carney's thumping him. His favorability is more than double that of Pierre Poilievre. Have you ever seen a leader transform to become more likable, more electable?
I go to Stephen Harper. I mean, when he came along, he had, very hardened views on the Conservative side, and then he understood that he had to break through. He was the type of person capable of working on himself. There was nothing that predisposed him to speaking fluent French, which he acquired by dogged hard work and an hour a day of French lessons. I mean, that's the type of guy Harper was. And yeah, I did see in him that sort of change. People do evolve. And, I have to admit that I have more empathy than most for Poilievre's situation, because I've been a party leader and I know how tough, more than most, how tough it can be to go through this sort of weekend with a vote by your party. But just pulling back a little bit, observing, analyzing, my feeling is that Mr. Poilievre is set in his ways for somebody who's relatively young. He's been that way. I've known him for 20 years. He loved being the smart aleck, going back and forth among the backbenchers, because he spent a lot more time as a backbencher than he did as a minister. He's very funny, but it's almost always at somebody else's expense. That sort of very tough speaking ability, his way of being so caustic when he talks back. People liked it when he was doing his job in opposition. But now, if you want to be seen as a prime minister in waiting, you do have to have more than one pitch in your repertoire. If your only pitch is a hard ball to the head, people get tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. And I think that that's what's coming out in the polls. It's like, okay, we've seen enough. We know that you're smart. We know that you're great at opposition, but can you ever be the prime minister that brings the country together. We've got serious risks right now. I don't need to insist on what's happening south of the border with Trump, but we've also got the threat of another referendum. Where is Poilievre on national unity? What is his thinking on that? Or does he just think that once he becomes prime minister, he'll let us know then? That's the type of thing I believe that Canadians are asking themselves right now, Marcia.
Tom, always appreciate our conversations. Tom Mulcair is the former leader of the NDP. We'll talk to you again next week.
All
Take
the best.
care.